The Galactic Council chamber stretched like a cathedral of judgment, its crystalline walls pulsing with bioluminescent veins that cast shifting shadows across hundreds of assembled delegates. Representatives from 47 worlds sat in concentric rings, their forms as diverse as the stars themselves, the ethereal Valdari floating in containment fields, the chitinous hive means clicking in unified rhythm, the towering Krathin with their stone-like hides. At the chamber's center, beneath a dome of pure energy, something massive thrashed against adamantine chains. The creature's roars shook the very foundations, each sound a promise of violence that made even the most hardened warriors shrink back. Whispers rippled through the assembly like wildfire. The destroyer of Kepler-Svan, the butcher of New Meridian, a beast too dangerous to live. The holographic evidence hung in the air, colonies reduced to ash, warships torn apart like paper, entire battalions consumed in moments of primal fury. Through the chamber's main portal stepped humanity's delegate, unremarkable in every way that mattered to the assembled aliens. Dr. Elena Vasquez wore a simple navy uniform, her brown hair pulled back in a practical bun, her dark eyes calm despite the chaos surrounding her. The crystalline Valdari envoy's voice chimed like broken glass. "Ah, the humans arrive. How quaint that you send such fragile creatures to witness true power." A Krathin delegate rumbled agreement, his rocky features twisting in what might have been amusement. "Your kind knows nothing of Deathworld predators. Soft skin, you barely survived your own planet's gentle beasts." Elena said nothing, her gaze fixed on the thrashing figure in the energy dome. Where others saw a monster, she saw something else entirely: confusion, and beneath the rage, a desperate intelligence trying to make sense of endless torment. The beasts, though Elena refused to think of it, that wasted nearly 4 meters tall when upright, its form a masterpiece of evolution's cruel artistry. Midnight black scales covered corded muscle, while bioluminescent patterns traced along its spine like a constellation of stars. 6 powerful limbs ended in razor-sharp talons, and its elongated skull housed rows of teeth that could shear through starship hull plating. But it was the eyes that caught Elena's attention. Ember orbs filled not with mindless hatred, but with a pain so profound it seemed to echo through the chamber itself. The execution order was being read by the Council's chief arbiter, a being of pure energy that spoke in harmonics that bypassed the ear and resonated directly in the mind. By unanimous decree of the assembled worlds, the entity designated Specimen 7 Alpha shall be terminated via molecular dissolution at the conclusion of these proceedings. May the galaxy be cleansed of this threat. Elena stepped forward, her movement so unexpected that the entire chamber fell silent. "Honorable delegates," she said, her voice carrying clearly despite its softness, "I request permission to approach the prisoner." The silence shattered into chaos. A dozen species began speaking at once, their words a cacophony of outrage and disbelief. The Valdari envoy's form flickered with agitation. "Impossible. That thing will tear you apart in seconds." A hive mind representative clicked urgently. "The human displays classic Deathworld insanity. Remove her before she contaminates rational thought." But Elena was already moving toward the energy barrier, ignoring the protests that followed her like a storm. The Council Guard's massive mechanical constructs, armed with plasma weaponry, moved to intercept her, but she raised a hand. "Just let me try," she said simply. The moment Elena passed through the energy barrier, the atmosphere changed completely. The creature's thrashing intensified for a heartbeat, then stopped entirely as those amber eyes locked onto her. Elena knelt slowly, deliberately, her hands visible and empty. The beast towered over her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from its scales, could smell the ozone-sharp scent of its biochemistry. Its breathing was ragged, each exhalation a barely contained snarl. For 30 seconds, they simply regarded each other, predator and prey, monster and human, two beings separated by evolution, but connected by something deeper. Then Elena reached into her jacket and withdrew a small protein bar, standard human rations that meant nothing to an alien palate. She broke it in half and extended her hand, palm up, offering. The chamber held its breath as the creature's massive head descended, nostrils flaring as it caught her scent. For a moment that stretched into eternity, Elena was certain she would die torn apart by claws and teeth, while representatives of a dozen worlds watched. Instead, the creature's movements became almost delicate as it sniffed the offering, then carefully lifted the food from her palm with surprising gentleness. The sound of its swallowing seemed impossibly loud in the absolute silence. Elena reached out again, this time toward the creature's scarred muzzle. Her fingertips made contact with warm scales, and the beast shuddered but did not pull away. "There," she whispered, so softly that only the creature could hear. "You're not a monster, are you? You're just scared." The revelation hit the chamber like a shockwave, as delegates witnessed something they had deemed impossible. The creature, this destroyer of worlds, was responding to kindness with something approaching trust. Elena's gentle strokes along its neck revealed dozens of old scars, marks of torture and experimentation that told a story of systematic cruelty. The beast had not been born a killer. It had been made into one, forged in pain and desperation by beings who saw only a weapon to be used. The crystalline Valdari envoy's form blazed with indignation. "This is some human trickery. That abomination has slaughtered thousands. Entire colonies have fallen to its rage." Elena looked up from where she knelt beside the now calm creature, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was suggesting. "And how many of those deaths came after you captured it? How much of its violence was a response to your chains?" The chamber erupted into chaos as Elena's words struck home. Some delegates demanded her immediate removal, while others found themselves reconsidering everything they thought they knew about the creature in their custody. Through it all, Elena remained beside the beast, her hand moving in slow, soothing strokes along its hide. The creature had settled into a position that was almost protective, its body curved around the human as if she were something precious to be guarded. Days passed in tense deliberation. Elena visited daily, bringing food and water, speaking in soft tones about anything and everything: her childhood on Earth, the beauty of Earth's oceans, the way snow fell on her hometown in winter. Gradually, the creature's posture changed. The constant tension left its frame, and something that might have been peace settled over its features. The transformation was undeniable, and even the most skeptical delegates began to lower their defenses. The creature that had once raged against its bonds now ate from Elena's hand with careful precision, ensuring its teeth never came close to her flesh. It would press its massive head against her shoulder when she arrived, producing a sound that was almost like purring, a noise no one had imagined such a predator could make. The guards, initially terrified, began to relax their vigilance, as it became clear that the beast posed no threat to anyone in Elena's presence. The hive mind representatives, their collective consciousness analyzing every interaction, began to murmur about unprecedented behavioral modification through non-aggressive bonding protocols. Just as it seemed the council might be swayed by this impossible display of interspecies connection, the Valdari envoy made one final, desperate play. Hidden within its crystalline form, it had carried a concentrated dose of neural stimulant, chemical compound designed to trigger uncontrollable rage in most carbon-based life forms. As Elena knelt beside the creature during what was meant to be their final meeting, the envoy released the toxin in a nearly invisible cloud. The effect should have been instantaneous: return to primal fury that would justify the creature's execution and discredit humanity's naive approach to galactic diplomacy. Instead, something extraordinary happened. As the chemical compound took effect and the creature's body began to respond with the first stirrings of artificial rage, it did not turn on Elena. Instead, it recognized the source of its sudden distress and moved to protect her, its massive form interposing itself between the human and the Valdari envoy. Its roar of defiance shook the chamber, but it was not the mindless bellow of a beast. It was the cry of a sentient being, choosing to defend rather than destroy, even as chemicals flooded its system with the compulsion to kill. The Valdari envoy's deception was exposed, its form flickering with the shame of discovery, as the other delegates realized what it had attempted. The silence that followed was profound and transformative. Here, before the assembled representatives of galactic civilization, stood living proof that violence was not the answer to every threat. The creature, no longer a beast in anyone's eyes, remained vigilant beside Elena, its breathing gradually returning to normal as the artificial stimulants faded from its system. The chief arbiter's harmonic voice resonated through the chamber. "The execution order is hereby rescinded. Let it be recorded that the entity designated Specimen 7 Alpha shall be granted sanctuary under the protection of the Terran delegation, with full recognition of its sentient status." As the formal session concluded and delegates began filing out of the chamber, many stopping to stare in wonder at the impossible sight before them, Elena remained where she had throughout the ordeal beside her unlikely friend. The creature had settled into a position of complete relaxation, its massive head resting against her lap as she continued the gentle stroking motion that had become their ritual. The sound it made was definitely purring now, a deep thrumming that seemed to resonate through the chamber's crystalline walls. Elena smiled, thinking of all the reports she would have to write, all the explanations she would have to give to both human and alien authorities about what had transpired here. But for now, in this moment of quiet triumph, she simply enjoyed the warmth of connection across species lines that should have been impossible to bridge. The assembled delegates had called it a beast, a monster, a threat to be eliminated. Alina had seen what they had missed, not a creature driven by malice, but one crying out for understanding. They had called it a beast, but she had always known better. They had just called it a friend.